Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan here, and here we are discussing about the formula, and this is basically 169th number part of the formulas. So, in formula, basically, what we have discussed lots of things in the formulas, and in last basically part, basically, we have discussed about the subscription plan which the countries takes. So here, basically, we are just taking the example of India country because currently I'm in India, so I can take only example of the India. So in India, basically, how the subscription plans are uh, generated by the governments, uh, not generated basically, you can say purchased by the government from the World Bank basically. So World Bank basically has lots of subscription plans, have lots of subscription plans with them basically. Assume that for India they have prepared around 1500 subscription plans. Assume just taking as an example. So in this 1500 subscription plan, this is 1500 is a combination of subscription plans. For example, if you take this one subscription plan, then basically 20 percentage of people are going to get disease. If you take this subscription plan, then basically 15 to 20 earthquakes will come in certain time of period. If you are taking this subscription plan, then big earthquake will come. If you are taking this that subscription plan, then small earthquake will come. So like this, basically there are many subscription plans taken. If you have this subscription plan in this city, then this many rain will fall. If you have this subscription, then this many hot climate will be getting maintained. If you will have this subscription plan, then basically this type of winter season is going to be generated. So why this type of subscription plan basically has to be taken? There might be some reason, right? Without reason, if they pay a little bit more money, then basically the subscription plan can be taken easily. But why the subscription plan are taken basically? That are basically the reason basically behind this is uh, nowadays basically the each and every human needs basically, you can say, each and every human needs are basically taken um, from the energy only basically. That is basically by default. For example, if you want to generate apple, the natural items are there, that is basically apple from the nature, and the another way is from the energy, that is basically the here basically we have taken as an example as a software. Microsoft Apple is there. So Microsoft Apple means Microsoft Apple is producing the apple. So like this the Microsoft says that we can produce the apple and we have produced the apple. So this is basically the Apple requirement, right? So if you are generating anything, for example, Apple basically where it can be produced, where the basically mostly ice, where ice gets into the city basically, the ice season basically, you can say it's a winter season where the ice falls lots of. So that is basically Kashmir's are there, Switzerland's are there, USA, lots of places are there. So this basically is the requirement of the Apple, right? So same way basically the company basically when they are generating the Apple energy in the environment, because the process has to be happen in the environment, because there is no direct way that, for example, one human is having the Apple energy inside his body is going to produce the Apple energy, and that Apple energy is basically going to generate by the Microsoft energy. So there is one software called CRM, which is created in Microsoft, that is going to generate the Apple. That basically has dumped into the particular person body, because he has taken some product, and in that product basically that CRM software was getting used. So like this, basically like this, he's get going to be taken care by the Microsoft directly. So Microsoft like this basically takes care of their customers. That also you can say Microsoft is taking care of their customers. That also you can say, because they want to produce the Apple, right? If they do will they if we do if you are producing any apple from the land, then basically you have to take care of the land. You have to give seed, you have to give the seeds, you have to give the water, and you have to give lots of medicines to that plant basically, which is going to produce the apple. So you have to do lots of things. You have to have a farmer, you have to have tractors, or you have to have some other vehicles or animals which basically helps to generate the apple. So there are lots of expense, right? That it's not that that expense all are basically eliminated. It's not like that. So that expense basically, you can say little bit part of expense basically has to be generated, has to be in the environment. So if you are producing any apple, so basically if I say that the entire software industry has to do the plan, and according to the plan only the entire according to the season only the plans are getting generated. If I say that type of things is the plan, then it would be 100% correct. So according to the season which is getting generated by the environment group, by the energy groups, by the nuclear plant, by the power companies, according to that data, the apple energy is getting produced. That if I say like that, then it would be 100% correct. But in environment only apple is not getting produced. There are many human needs. Microsoft itself have a thousand of human needs, so they are basically getting produced in the environment only. So you can just imagine the process happening in the environment. So lots of people basically have given the name as a global warming is ongoing. So this also might be one of the reason of the global warming. That might be the reason, but it's not 100% correct. That this also might be the one of the reason, you can say. There are many reasons of the global warming also. So this might be also one of the reason, because if you are doing the production exceed, if you are producing anything exceed than the limit, then because the environment which is set, that is according to 1 crore apple only. Here basically we are taking as an example of 1 crore. So the environment which is set by the government, they are telling that we have given the energy according to 1 crore apple only to the city where the Microsoft is going to produce the apple. So that basically government says that. So according to the government, Microsoft can only produce 1 crore apple, but Microsoft produced more than 1 crore apple. So that is basically different point here. Basically, we are not discussing that the why the government is producing this, why the government is setting that environment, and why the Microsoft is producing that much of apple, which is not supposed to. That is not the issue. That basically we will discuss later on what actually is supposed to be and what actually is not supposed to be. So here basically we are discussing that um, how Microsoft is producing the data in the environment. That is the main thing basically. The base here, that is the base is the this is the climate, this is the weather, and according to weather of that particular city, you have to adjust your energy. That is basically Apple energy, which is going to be processed in the environment. Because without doing the environment process, without doing the process of apple energy in the environment, you can't take that apple to the nuclear plant. That is basically the rule, basically we can say, of the each and every energy which you are going to produce for the human needs, and which that human needs are going to be used by the human. That is basically by the nature, basically, you can say. For example, I will take one more example. For example, mm, there is one coconut tree basically, right? So that coconut tree is having around assume that 100 coconuts. So that coconut tree basically, it's attracting lots of energy with them. Means lots of energies are connecting with the coconut trees. It's not like that the coconut trees is directly getting um, um, what did I say? The coconut automatically. It's attracting lots of. If you will keep some hidden camera near the coconut tree, entire coconut. For example, height is around. Just assume that it's around whatever meter basically, whatever height it is. If you keep camera within near the coconuts, that basically will capture the energies, and that must capture the energies, whatever the attraction which the coconut tree is doing. Then basically you can able to track that how much energy data the coconuts basically trees and coconuts are observing, basically you can say, taking from the environment. So just keep this watch, then just see basically. This would be basically the research topic basically, and this basically it's if one normal person can think up to that level, then basically the agriculture department, that is basically it's a big department basically. Agriculture is a big department. They might have thought this long before. So that's the same way basically. The in environment, Apple energy has to be produced, has to be do the lots of process, have to do the lots of process, and then only basically the next process will happen, because that is the rule of the, you can say, nature, rule of the universe. Because whatever human needs, the human is going to take, that has to be processed. Without that, because it's connected with the planets basically, you can say, because each and every human needs are going to be used in the planet's creation. That's why basically, that's why it's a very lengthy process. It's not that it will take just within 1 or 2 days. It's a long process basically, because that's why basically the investment is basically, if you are doing any investment in any of the human needs, 1 lakh crore dollar is the minimum amount you can. Just taking it as an example, it can be 1,000 crore also. So it's a basically lengthy process, long process. Lots of steps are there, lots of times gets take, lots of process happens. Then only basically you get the human needs pure data. That is basically processed by the nuclear power plants, nuclear power companies, and then basically lots of process happens, and then only basically the things happen. But here basically, what is the main topic? Here, why we discuss this all the thing in the earthquake basically. There might be some reason, right? That in India basically there are thousands of stories. On the base of thousands of stories, only the earthquakes are coming and going, not coming, coming and not coming. It's basically two things. Earthquake will come or earthquake will not come. So one thing is going to happen, right? That is basically depend on the user stories which is getting dumped in the city environment. For example, from where basically the thousand stories are getting dumped. That is basically human can't go and just do the set their energy from their body, and they can't set directly the earthquake basically. Earthquake is not supposed to. For example, 1,000 people will sit in this room, in this land, and they will say the we will set our energy in this land, and then the earthquake will not come. So it's not like that basically. It's not like that. There are lots of process basically happens, and the lots of things are basically, you can say, uh, it's settled in the cities. That's why basically the earthquake is not coming. For example, there are thousands of cities, and sorry, thousands of family groups. On the base of these thousands of family groups, the earthquake data are settled, and the setting is basically will come and will not come. So here basically which families are basically are used in earthquake, and which families are not used in earthquake. So this is basically the topic, and this is basically created by the World Bank. World Bank basically, you can say, the groups basically. World Bank is in between, right? Why World Bank is in between? Because the monetary basically, you can say, money related stuffs are directly connected. Because the thousand family members, they are basically staying in the earth planet, in the India. Basically, we are talking about the India, but it's not that this entire 1,000 families are staying in directly in India. There are few 500 of 2,600 family might be family groups basically might be outside India. So here basically that is not the topic. Here the topic is the 5,000 family member groups. On the base of 1,000 family member groups, only the environment are set of the earthquake, and that environment is earthquake will come and earthquake will not come. So that is the basically topic. And here basically the banks are basically doing the all the process. Five banks are doing the process because this 1,000 family groups member has to do the expense also. They should get the money also. Then only basically they can produce the. Then only they can. You can say they can have their lifestyle basically, right? If they will have, if they want to produce this type of energy, then basically their lifestyle should be like that. So that is basically not very easy. That's very well. You can say very dangerous task. You can say because lots of emotional energy gets generated, lots of bad energy gets generated, lots of romantic energy has to be generated. So it's not easy. So that basically gets automatically set it. Uh, and here basically we are not discussing about, we are not going into internal process of the family members. Here basically we are just telling that the 1,000 family members are there, 1,000 family members energy as are going to be used in the earthquake will come and earthquake will not come. In that basically the World Bank is setting the each and every subscription plans. They have created the subscription plan, and here basically banks are directly connected with the third party groups who are basically into this type of business, you can say. So this has basically converted into business. Previously it was not like that, but now it has converted into business because education itself has converted into business. So you can just imagine the education has converted into the business. I have taken an example of Harvard, MS University, and Oxford, that capsicum. Harvard, basically, when the MS University student will pass and will generate the energy, that basically capsicum will cost 35 rupees. But if the Harvard group basically do the passing of the MBA, and when they gets into the environment and when they generates the jobs and do the process of the job, then basically the capsicum rate are $100. And if that same way basically if Oxford group will do, Oxford people will do the clearance of the MBA, and then basically they joins the MBA groups. So, sorry, that are basically the MBA jobs basically on the base of MBA, Oxford MBA, then basically their energy basically converts to $300. So that is basically because this has education has converted into directly to the business side, right? Because capsicum rate $300, $200, and 35 rupees. So this has directly converted into education into business side basically, you can say. So here basically if education is getting converted into the business, that is basically the businessman only do. And how many businessmen are there in India, that basically everybody knows. So here basically we are not discussing that also, that the businessmen of India and who are basically doing the investment in India, they have converted the education into directly into the business. So here basically we are not discussing that point. Here basically we are discussing that the 1,000 family members, their energy is getting used in earthquake will come and earthquake will not come. In that basically data. So for that, assume that uh, mm, the World Bank has created mm, around 3 lakh subscription plan. So just see basically 3 lakh subscription plan from the 1,000 family members. So 1,000 family members means they have certain families, na? So their family member, each family, if each family will count up to four, then basically you can just imagine the family member count. So according to that family groups and the family count and the family energy and the family blood cells, the data of the subscription plan has converted to 3 to 4 lakhs. Just taking as an example, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh. So minimum it would be 3 to 4 lakh basically. You can say. So 3 to 4 lakh if subscription plans are, so 3 to 4 lakh means what? One, two, three, one subscription plan, two subscription plan, three subscription plan, four subscription plan. Like this, 3 to 4 lakh subscription plans has basically created by the has have created by the and is getting created, and basically you can say it's getting created by the World Bank group basically you can say, because World Bank is came into picture because the monetary, that is basically money is coming into picture. That's why basically you can say, because each and every things are converted into the business. That's why basically I told that it's converted into business now. So that is basically by default. Not any temple pujari will do that. Not any father basically of the church will do. Not any Maulana basically in the mosque. That is basically masjid will do that. They are not basically doing that. The businessmen are doing that, and the businessmen basically are directly connected with the public, and public are directly connected with the god. That is basically temples. But who is doing this all? That is basically by default the businessmen are in front of the world, right? In front of the public. If anybody says that why this education has converted into the business, then by default the name would be of businessman. So this might be businessman also, it might be somebody else also, but we can't track that who is basically, for example, one potato price is getting increased. Can anybody can track this from where exactly the potato price is getting increased? Because you should know the potato data basically, from where which blood cells energy that potato is coming. Then only basically you can track, right? Because why the price of the potato has increased. So it's like that basically. You can't track it. Basically you can't track it because the energy information that are basically in the binary and many not readable format, and that require the education, purely high level education. That's why basically it's not easy to the track also, because if any nuclear plant company members can track, then basically he basically never comes in front of the public. Nuclear power plant company employees mostly never comes in front of the public, because it's very difficult. If they comes into the public, then basically anybody can track them. Anybody will track them and can say that, can you please decode this data? Then basically lots of things will come into picture. That's why basically they never comes into the picture. And here basically that is not also our topic. Here the topic is the earthquake that is going to come, and earthquake which is not going to come. That is basically decided on the base of this 1,000 family member, and their story, which is basically generated by the World Bank. And in World Bank is telling that we have generated around the 3 to 5 lakh subscription plan according to the data which basically we have got. So here basically that is basically 169th part. In 170 basically we are going to discuss little bit more about this one.